This topic's going to seem a little out there, but I need you to stay with me on it. It goes somewhere. This week, China embarked on its first mission to retrieve samples from a nearby asteroid. Its uncrewed spacecraft is set to reach the asteroid by next summer, and it's going to send a capsule packed with rocks back to Earth by November of 2027. The specific asteroid China plans to visit is a peculiar one. According to the New York Times, quote, recent telescopic observations suggest that it is made of the same volcanic matter found on the moon, implying that it's a piece of the lunar surface shorn off by a meteor impact, which means this asteroid and the geological treasure China plans to send back to Earth could contain secrets about how the moon and possibly Earth were formed. Now, if successful, China will become the third nation after Japan and the U.S. to retrieve pristine material from an asteroid. This is the latest advancement in China's fast-growing space program. In just a few short years, China has launched its first long-term space station into orbit, become the first country to retrieve rocks from the far side of the moon, landed a robot on Mars, and is investing heavily in sending humans to the moon by 2030. There was a time in history when the space race meant everything. It was considered the ultimate global competition to win. First place meant your nation was superior in science, technology, and knowledge. America's success in space exploration was a source of great national pride during the Cold War. The idea being, if you can conquer space, you can conquer the world. China is now fast becoming a major player in the new era of space exploration. There have been numerous events and innovations in the last 70 years that explain the meteoric ascent of China's space program. See what I did there? But we can maybe point to one moment in time and one decision by the United States that's been called, quote, the stupidest thing this country ever did, which may have lit the fuse for China's space prosperity. In 1935, a young, gifted scientist from China, this young man at the time, won a rare scholarship to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. His name was Chin Shu Sun. After receiving a master's in aeronautical engineering at MIT, Chin went to Caltech for his doctorate. Before long, he joined a group of other young geniuses who began researching rocket propulsion on campus. Their work got the attention of the U.S. military, which funded their research into jet technology for military aircraft. According to the BBC, Dr. Chin, the heart of the project, was given security clearance for classified weapons research and served on the U.S. government's Science Advisory Board. He became one of the world's foremost experts on jet propulsion. But his life in America came to a crashing halt when in 1955, the U.S. turned its back on this brilliant scientist whom it had educated and deported him and his family to China. The Cold War had begun, the paranoia that was infecting the United States then as it is now. Dr. Chin was accused of being a communist, which he denied. He was stripped of his security clearance, he was put under house arrest, and then he was sent back to China. When he left, he told reporters he would never again set foot in America, and that was a promise he kept. In China, he continued studying, learning, and developing. He became known as the father of Chinese rocketry. 15 years after his return to China, he oversaw the launch of the first Chinese satellite into space. He trained a generation of scientists. He laid the foundations for China's space program. Dan Kimball, former U.S. Secretary of the Navy and later the head of the rocket propulsion company Aerojet, once said Dr. Chin's deportation was, quote, the stupidest thing this country ever did. America, its ingenuity and prestige attracts the best of the best, generational talent like Dr. Chin Shu Sun. And that's what makes America great. This country thrives every day thanks to the best and the brightest minds from all over the world who choose to come here and build on American brilliance. And now all of that is at risk. This week, the Trump administration announced it would, quote, aggressively revoke the visas of Chinese students. The administration seems to think this is going to prevent Chinese students from learning critical subjects here in the United States and then taking their knowledge to the Chinese government, which, according to the New York Times, doesn't really happen. There's no evidence of U.S.-trained scientists working for China in any significant numbers. China has its own very good technological and engineering schools. But if we're dealing in reality, what this move actually does is deprive America of much-needed and highly sought-after wisdom and talent. This is a self-inflicted brain drain, and it's far from the only move this administration is making that will deter the smartest people in the world from making America their innovation playground. The Trump administration has moved to ban international students from Harvard University. It threatened colleges and universities with federal funding cuts if they don't bend to Trump's will. It has threatened to bar government scientists from publishing in medical journals. Scientists have lost their jobs and funding thanks to DOGE cuts, and at least 350 grants from the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, and elsewhere have been canceled at Harvard Medical School, according to ABC News. Entire databases of science and public health information are vanishing. When you consider all of this, why would anyone want to learn, research, invent here in the United States, in this increasingly xenophobic environment, hostile toward knowledge and those who seek to incubate it? We will lose out on the greatest inventors, scientists, climate researchers, doctors, AI specialists, historians, engineers, astronauts, architects, lawyers, writers, professors. The list goes on. And mark my words, they will take their talents elsewhere, and before long, America is no longer the epicenter of innovation, technology, and all-around genius. I've said it before, accepting highly skilled foreign workers is not a charity to those workers. They are doing us a favor. The current and oncoming brain drain will have generational consequences for the United States while rewarding other nations. And what may make this worse? This all-out assault on knowledge is a unified attack on our democracy. Adam Serwer writes for The Atlantic, quote, "By destroying knowledge, Trumpists seem to make this country more amenable to their political domination and to prevent meaningful democratic checks on their behavior. Their victory, though, would do much more than that. It would annihilate some of the most effective systems for aggregating, accumulating, and applying human knowledge that have ever existed. Without those systems, America could find itself plunged into a new dark age," end quote. Ignorance is not bliss in this scenario. If they control the truth and all the mechanisms we have to seek it, then they hold all the power.